All right, I want to welcome you to the Path of Peh. So we've been working at this for quite some time now, and we're now moving into territory for a little while that really has to do with moving past the solid isolatedness into a more connected and uh, complete, integrated sense of place in the universe, where we are, at one with the experiences and the universe, and ultimately understand ourselves more completely. So um, the things from here on in are a little bit more challenging. I don't know how many of you have actually gotten into the path of Peh. Some of you are sneaking ahead of the curve, but I want to talk about the path of Netzach before we move to there. So um, go ahead and um, let's how did people find the path of Netzach? What kind of people discovering from that? I've got a number of images of the Peh. So um, we can take a look at those. Alex says, happy but not as moving as the previous paths. And Robin, I just noticed, said before, is it possible that someone experienced the opposite of bliss on this path, like maybe depression instead? That's interesting, Robin. You were having a bit of a reaction to the previous path as well, right? I'm sorry. I've been saying, and I mean, Tzadi is what I've been meaning to say. Excuse me. Um, uh, I'm wondering if there's an issue with Netzach in general that is coming up for you, since both Tzadi um, and Hoff are both leading to Netzach, and so it may be that space is one that as yet is a little uncomfortable for you, because the result ultimately is the same in both, which is a sense of um, that there's no competition between experiences, that they're all different kinds of bliss. And I'm wondering if that's maybe something that's a little uncomfortable for you. Is that possible? I don't know if I can, but I'll try. Robin's asked me to repeat that, which is to say that the place where you're going in the last two paths that you've had a little bit of a funny reaction to is to the very blissful, loving, um, you know, uh, place in which we're no longer making necessarily distinctions between things, although it's the place where distinctions come out of ultimately as it's related to our aesthetics. And I'm wondering if that area of your consciousness is one that is perhaps um, in your it's a an underutilized part of your consciousness, or one in which you're feeling like um, you don't feel comfortable with it for whatever reason. Alex says, Robin, I experience a certain amount of that too, feeling adrift because my preconceived ideas of good and evil aren't there anymore, so I could sometimes feel directionless. Sure, I mean that's certainly a possibility. Although what you're going into is not a place where previous ideas aren't there. It's just simply that they're all part of a continuum of ideas, and they're not they're not necessarily what you think they are. Um, Juan is saying he found it very much like a carnival atmosphere in which each horoscope sign was sort of a showcase. Clowns were Aquarius, Pisces, and Virgos. High wire act were Gemini, and animal trainers, Taurus, and the other was much more as well. Rather filled joy, but eerie as well, like being in a house of mirrors. Um, that's interesting. I mean, this is the second time you've had sort of circus-related experiences, and that's it's intriguing. Um, your certainly there's in my audio program there's references to sort of dancing and spinning and stuff like that, and that certainly can have that kind of a theme going on internally. But I want to talk for a moment about this feeling of listlessness around the idea that that the different qualifications that you've given to experiences are um, uh, it's alarming to live without them or to move to a place where they aren't as relevant. Um, can you think of some other examples in your life of places where um, maybe there are things that are important for you to feel a distinction, and then maybe because here's the thing: if you're we have to decide what we're going to do with our lives, what we're going to do on a day-to-day basis, and obviously when we're in a purely blissful place, it's difficult to make those kinds of decisions because you can't really choose between any one thing and the other. They're all very pleasant. Um, so there's certainly a lotus eater's quality to um, the Netzach experience that I'm describing, that sort of just loving and blissful and happy place, and it's not some place that you can just stay forever. Um, Robin says that might be Alex. My perceptions of things are usually from a positive aspect. With these last two paths, I've tried to allow whatever to occur, good or bad, from my perspective. I've tried to allow it to just be. Um, Alex says, but to be clear, the end effect is a positive one. I come out feeling happier about everything. And and Alex says, exactly. I think it's just something that I said. but I mean so the essence of the path is almost you you experience that which is blissful and pleasant and lovely in order to realize that that's not really the end goal in life. Because I mean, we walk through life wanting to have these pleasing experiences. We want to have to get $1 million. We want to have we want to live in mansion. Those sorts are things that people want. Not everybody wants those sorts of things. Some people want to live on a mountaintop where you'll be able to just enjoy the sunrise every day. I mean, but these things, they seem like they're once you have those things, everything's going to be okay, and it's really ultimately not okay. And so what this experience produces is an awareness that even if everything's pleasant, there's still a need to move further along. Kevin says it has made me more meditative and blissful. Well, good. Honestly, if you have to be in a state, it may as well be a state of happiness and bliss, right? Kevin and Brandine, how are you? Where are you guys? Are you are you at a library or something? Kevin, right now, it's kind of amazing that they actually managed to make it here. Okay, wait, Nevada from work. Wonderful. Viva Las Vegas. Says Juan. Brandine is laughing out loud. For the record. Um, so, you know, the each of the progressive paths from here is going to be, more and more through this blissful experience, but it's going to be more towards also a unified and uh, removing barriers of self slowly but surely into deeper and deeper experiences. So, the bliss is going to be something that maintains through most of these paths from here on in, but there's different ways of approaching it. And honestly speaking, the next from this path through to um, the path of Nun, um, it's something that in a natural sense, if we weren't doing these as path workings, would probably all happen relatively same time. Some of the paths aren't necessarily like there's three paths that lead to Tiferet, and these paths are they each have sort of a different approach and a different uh, manner of moving into that space. And if you were just doing a meditation that was not guided in any way, you might traverse one of the three paths, or you might sort of traverse them all at the same time. So we're kind of going to be doing something that's a little bit of an artificial exploration of various places. But before that, we have to do the path of Peh. And the path of Peh and the and the path of Ayin are very they're challenging. They're challenging in a way that the other ones haven't been. So, and it may be that there, it may be Robin and Alex that they are actually just the medicine for what you're kind of going through right now, since they approach it from um, uh, it may be that Sadi is too yielding for you, and that actually, like, looking at things from a slightly more martial aspect might actually be useful for you. Juan says, Pei was a shocker from Netzach, as it was no carnival at all. Instead, I found myself in what seemed like a hill, at the very top of which I slipped away. Was a large maple tree, and when I approached the tree, time sped up, not affecting me but everything else. The seasons changed before my eyes and reflected on the tree as it would wither and bloom, and the feeling was one of being barren and empty. Okay, hi Zoltan, welcome. Uh, uh, so, um, Juan is, of course, not referring to my recording, but some other experience that he had, and I think he's saying from Netzach to Hod, he was looking at it from that perspective, which of course is not the way that we're going to be looking at it anyway. But so that path is one that is challenging, because you're basically um, dissolving the ego self to an extent, or at least the ego's kind of constructs of what it is, and letting them go. And that's really the basis of that path, is the Tower of Babel. Uh, that is our way in which we've consciously decided that we're going to approach trying to get close to God, and that whole tower needs to fall down. Everything that we think that we know, or that we think is the right way of approaching stuff, isn't necessarily relevant, and in fact is the very thing that's holding us back. While we're seeking after hidden wisdom and knowledge, is always uh, away from us, because ultimately hidden wisdom and knowledge is in our innermost self, and so in seeking it all, you're actually moving further and further away from it. But that's not the lesson of this path per se, but simply just that you need to let go of your preconceived notions about things, and that is in the grander sense. And each of these paths, I'm sure you've noticed, is about kind of letting one little piece go. And so, as I mentioned, from Tzadi to Nun, it's all pretty much about letting different ego boundaries fall away. Um, and so you're gonna find that this next one is really about your belief systems, um, your constructs of what the universe is all about, what your purpose is all about. These are all things that kind of need to be let go of in order to see reality for exactly what it is. So the uh, the the essence of this is just letting go of all mental chatter, but that's not necessarily going to be the result of what we're doing right now. But the essence of the path is silencing the mind completely, and silencing um, the little self completely, so that you can blossom. into the big self that you really are. Letting go of the control mechanism that you've been holding on to in order to keep your sense of self and sense of ego and sense of identity intact, and one that defends against being connected with the divine. So that's really the essence of this path. And the metaphor is the tower that has been erected, the tower of thought, the tower of ambition, the tower of ego that we've created, and that has to be collapsed in order to experience reality. And there's a number of different ways in which it's been represented. The Crowley way, I showed you briefly the Rider-Waite version. The Crowley way is quite interesting, quite intriguing. You actually see the eye of Shiva up at the top, which is sort of the cause of the collapse. But then also there's this sort of monster creature down at the bottom that's also eating up the thing at the same time. And then there's this lion serpent in the corner here, and the dove, which is a particular metaphor within Crowley's personal worldview. But what's interesting is that the little people in Crowley's depiction are these sort of crystalline shapes, and that's a set of imagery that he uses for all the sword archetypes, all the sword characters within the tarot, which are emblematic of the element of air, and so thought and thinking. So these little figures, you can't really see them too well in this, but it's basically some people that are falling off the tower. So those little figures are representative of different kinds of thought constructs, different sorts of beliefs and ideas that we have about sort of locked into our present perception of stuff. Medusa says, that is exactly what I need to let go of control to collapse that tower of ego and finally find total amazing bliss. Now the thing is that I want you to have total and amazing bliss, and I want you to be able to let the control on your life be your higher self that's in control. But that controlling part of you is actually important. It's the part that gets you to sit down and do the meditations. It's the part that holds the gateway open for insights to come in. And so it's important not to feel like you need to destroy the ego, the controller, but simply to sort of put it in its place and have it function in the way that it's meant to function, in a balanced way. Not so much that you need to what I want you to let go of is the notions, the sense that you know how the universe works. There's a Zen story, and I think that actually they talk about it in Hasidic Judaism as well. That when your cup is full, you can't pour any more into the cup, or it spills over. You have to have an empty cup in order to receive new knowledge. So you have to what your what your inner teachings want to share with you. That the outer training that we've received in life takes away from us. People tell us this is the way the universe works, and we accept that, and we go with the flow of that being the way that the world is, because we don't have any other information coming in. But if you look inside of yourself, there's a whole wisdom that can emerge. Not even look inside yourself, but just clear away the sense of needing to look. And that's the whole, the whole process is really about that. So this is just one stage, but this is about emptying the cup and doing so in a fairly dramatic way. The tower is a dramatic tarot card. TV says, it would be interesting to hear you speak about what other gems you have gleaned from whatever amount of Hasidic Judaism you've explored. I mean, I can't claim to be an expert on that at all. Maybe I mean, there's a wonderful storytelling in some of the books that I've read that have great little teaching stories about rabbis who who have taught through example. And you see these teaching stories in all cultures. You see them a lot within the Hasidic Judaism tradition. You see them a lot within Christianity. Obviously, Jesus taught almost exclusively through stories like that, and you see them a lot in Zen, where there are these teaching stories that they have about awakening, which usually end with "and then he was awakened." Um, so let's focus on the path of Panda. Does anyone have any questions about it? While I get out some images more. This is the Tabby Cicero's rendition of it, and this is somewhat based upon the what would be called the traditional Golden Dawn depiction, which shows a tower in the center being struck by lightning coming from sort of a round object, and then there's two trees on either side that have the 10 Sephirot in them that one is white and one is black. And I think that Tabby, the mouth, the devouring mouth at the bottom there, I think that that's an homage to Crowley, because I don't know how well you can see it here, but it's this fiery mouth that's devouring the tower, and then you see in the Crowley image, it's a very similar fiery mouth coming in from the side. Alex says her colors are always so vibrant that it almost feels like too much. Yeah, I mean, she definitely likes the bright colors, but she's actually coming from I've been to their temple a few times, and Chick is very obsessive and I mean that in a good way, about wanting to get the color correspondences right in the depictions of things, and so she took that as an imperative that she would have the color schemes color scales would approve of. So you see, scarlet is the color of um, this path, and so you see a lot of scarlet in here. But then there's also some bright green and some other stuff in there as well. So then a couple of other interesting versions of the path. This is one that I haven't shown you any from this one, but I thought it was kind of interesting. It's the Pythagorean tarot, and he's got a tower here with a little up on a hill, and there's four like rivers running out of it towards the bottom, and then it's got the king and queen falling, and it's almost like there's a fire shooting out of the top instead of coming from above, but it's the same idea of the tower being knocked down. Oh, it's actually. Oh, you know what it is? I didn't look carefully at it before I showed it on camera. I'm examining it on camera. This is actually the traditional glyph of Jupiter's lightning bolt. So it is coming from above. It just sort of looks like it's coming out because of the way that it's drawn. But um, it's interesting because Jupiter's lightning bolt, or actually Zeus's lightning bolt, in um, in the iconography of ancient Greece, he has a double trident. You know, one going down and one going up, and then the uh, Neptune had a single trident that just goes up, and then Pluto has a single trident that just goes down. So Jupiter was kind of like the mediator, the one that had the full power of that lightning bolt, the balanced, yeah. So, um, but I mean, what that represents in all of these images is the insight of of cosmic consciousness or of divine consciousness coming in and cracking apart the foundations of what you think the universe is all about. Lastly, this one's kind of interesting. Very, this is the alchemical tarot, and so what they've got there basically is it's the retort, the the chemical furnace and stuff that you're trying to get the stuff out of, but then the lightning bolt comes in and cracks up the 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 thing, and it's the same idea that they think that they know how to make it, but they're being the insight shatters all that. So that's the idea behind this path, is that um, and the metaphor that's used in it is quite apocalyptic. The recording has a very apocalyptic kind of quality to it. The different parts of your consciousness, the quote unquote good parts, the angels, and the quote unquote bad parts, the demons, are battling one another, and they basically all are obliterated in the apocalypse. Only insight remains. From there, you move into Netzach. So that's the basic storyline. And my is everyone there? I just heard a weird sound come through. Can everyone still hear me? Okay, good. I don't know what I just heard a very loud crackle sound. So the basic insight is just simply to move past all conceptualizations into a pure awareness, and from there, by nature of what we're doing, moving into that blissful state of Netzach. So this one, um, maybe this one will be the one that works for you, Robin, in terms of really letting you just open up completely into bliss. Maybe it will be only once we move past Netzach that you'll understand fully that Netzach is just I mean, we're only in the fourth little knob of 10. So, um, you know, here's a little homework assignment for you guys to do as well. Um, Robin says she's a bit of a control freak and wondering if the whole balance thing might have just hit the nail on the head. This is an optional homework assignment, but there's a little book written by Aleister Crowley, the early 20th century occultist, that was kind of the early culmination of his understanding of the tree of life as a pathway to the divine. That's in a book called Conks on Pax. Um, no, this is a story, and it's actually written in the form of kind of a fairy tale, and it's called uh, the main character is called Lola Daydream. What is the name of the story? Is someone here going to help me? I'm having a brain fart. The thing is, it should be available online, and the name of it will come to me as we're continuing forward. But I think the Wake World. Thank you, Alex. Um, uh, I think that it's an allegory, and it the reason that it's popping into my mind is that one of the things that's mentioned at each phase, at each of the levels that they go to, him and his fairy prince, or her and her fairy prince, is that some people spend their whole lives in this area. So Netzach is some place that some people spend their whole lives. Hod is some place that people spend their whole lives. Yesod is some place that some people spend their whole life. Malkut is some place that some people spend their whole life. Um, so, at each one of those stopping points, she feels tempted to just stay there because there's something quite pleasant about each of those places. Um, but it's not the ultimate, and so they continue forward. Um, so I'd like to just recommend that you dig it up. You should be able to find it on the internet. There's a website called hermetic.com that has pretty much all of Crowley's stuff up as PDFs or as text files. And you posted it? Oh, okay. I didn't see it. It rushed past me before I even looked over. Um, so, um, take a look at it, and you don't need to read the whole thing. Just read it to Netzach, as that will sort of. And I won't respect in my own for yours. So in reading it, you're going to see, it's not going to necessarily completely 100% match with everything that we're doing. It's fairly close, since we're both going from the same symbol set. But it's the perspective. Oh God, can everyone hear me now? One of the nice things about the story, The Wake World, is it's actually written very early in Aleister Crowley's career, and it contains a lot of his youthful optimism and and the better parts of his nature. Whereas I think later on he's growing more and more cynical and more uh, writing from his id in some places. But so I mean I think that is a metaphorical road through the tree of life that is a useful companion to what we're doing here. But it also, it illustrates in a sense, and it's subtle because it's written as an allegory, so you kind of have to read between the lines to an extent. But it illustrates clearly why we're neither looking for the pure intellectual insight of Hod, nor just the blissful, loving sensuality of Netzach. We're not looking for either of those. Those are both stepping stones. Those are both components of the ultimate, but they are not the ultimate. So um, you don't have to read it, but it might be interesting for you, as well as doing listening to the recordings. Brendine is saying the Book of Thoth, is that from the cynical? It seemed to have many of the negative ideas of the tarot as I briefly looked at it. Yeah, I mean that definitely is later in his life that he wrote that one. And actually, that book was a project that was begun simply as a way of making some money, because later in his life he was fairly short on capital, and he began it, but because he just loves symbology and loves making things more complicated, he eventually hired this woman, Lady Frida Harris, to draw these pictures, and they did many versions of a lot of them, which are actually kicking around still. You can find alternate versions of a number of the cards that she painted, and he said, no, that's not quite exactly what I'm looking for. So the Book of Thoth ended up being something that he put a tremendous amount of energy into, and became something that is definitely a useful book that contains a lot of mystical lore and metaphysical ideas that are useful. But yeah, it does contain, a certain amount of, um, you know, uh, I don't know if I would agree that there's negative ideas, but he he goes a little bit far in some places, and I think it's just because he was getting older and his view of the universe was less idealistic than the earlier Crowleyan. I mean, I think there's value in looking at a person's entire body of work. I hope that I don't grow more cynical as I grow older, but I'm sure that my ideas have changed over time too. Brendan says better way of saying it is less idealistic or optimistic. It might be Kevin saying that, but uh, yes. Okay, Brent. Um, yeah, I mean yeah. I think that's right. Less idealistic or optimistic, and more sure that he discovered the truth, and perhaps in some ways he did. I don't know. But in some ways his truth was a bit dark. So, but enough about Crowley. I just think that particular piece is it's interesting and fun and contains some sort of little logic puzzles in it and stuff too that relates to this path working very directly. One of the earliest versions of a sort of uh, pathworking kind of an endeavor. Now, there are also some other Golden Dawn folks who did a little bit of pathworking that's been recorded, and you can find that in various places on the wall. It was called the Sphere group within Sphere, as in circular object group within the Golden Dawn, and they published a little bit of stuff, but not too terribly much, and some of it has to do with the Enochian uh, practice as well. So that's less relevant to what we're doing. So anyway, path of pay, letting things go that um, hold you into a bottled concept of what the universe is about. So I want to know if there are any questions about this week's path coming up, or any more comments. Otherwise, I'm going to end this pretty soon because I brought my computer in here and I don't have it plugged in. It's on battery power, and I don't want to have this end simply because my computer dies. Um, so, uh, does anyone have any questions? My pleasure, Alex. Looks like someone just came in recently. Or maybe that was Zoltan. I didn't notice the numbers go. It's a real pleasure to chat with you guys every couple of weeks. I'm really enjoying it, and we're moving along very steadily and quickly. And I thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.